Welcome to Amberger's Smackdown. I'm J. Christoph Amberger. Hypocrisy can be defined as the act of condemning another person when the critic himself is guilty of the same thing that is being condemned. If, for example, a televangelist builds his franchise on the sanctity of traditional marriage and then gets caught playing hide the salami with a male prostitute, he really has very little to complain about if the infidel public calls him a sham and a hypocrite. Speaking of blow-dried telegenic messiahs, perennial presidential contender John Edwards currently has an interesting image problem right along those lines. The multimillionaire ex-senator from North Carolina has been a vocal champion of the poor since last year and an equally vocal critic of subprime lenders ever since rising defaults among high-risk mortgages has provided a slow-moving bandwagon for political opportunists to jump on. That's all well and nice. It's good and useful to play the champion of the poor, downtrodden and indigent if you want them to make you president a year from now. But Edwards, who made his reported $30 million fortune the old-fashioned way, chasing ambulances, likes money just as much as the next guy. Accordingly, he had a large chunk of his hard-sued money parked in the Fortress Investment Group, a hedge fund and private equity manager. Nothing wrong with making money that way. Heck, even Chelsea Clinton is currently working for a hedge fund rather than helping the proverbial village to raise a disadvantaged child. And it's a hallmark trait of the Democratic top tier to live and prosper like the millionaire capitalists there are, while spouting torrents of redistributionist, tax-the-rich nonsense to leverage the envy and resentment of the working middle and leisure class for their own political benefit. Now, Edwards liked Fortress, enough to hand it more than half of his stated net worth. And Fortress liked Edwards, so much so it paid him nearly $500,000 for advice last year. We may never know exactly what particular piece of good advice was worth $500,000, but Fortress ended up with investments in lenders that offer subprime mortgages. Lenders that have since fallen on hard times and have begun to foreclose on mortgages of those borrowers who can't keep up with the payments. It's what lenders do, always and everywhere. That insight must have been quite a shock to our expert hedge fund advisor Edwards, who reportedly invested $16 million of his assets with Fortress, apparently without reading over the fine or large print in the prospectus. Don't you hate it when that happens to you? The discovery of such monstrous capitalist machinations as lending money to those without sterling credit prompted righteous indignation on the side of an apparently blindsided Edwards, but only after it was pointed out to him that the subprime lending units of Fortress were foreclosing on 34 New Orleans homeowners struggling to overcome the Katrina aftermath. A tad uncomfortable if you've launched your presidential campaign on as the undisputed champion of the New Orleans poor. But like your wily alternative lifestyle televangelist who assures his flock that God has forgiven him for his trespasses with Chardonnay the male hooker, Edwards instantly switched from predatory capitalist to Mother Teresa mode. I intend to help these people, and I will not have my family's money invested in these firms. Luckily, there's not as much of that left as there used to be. You see, Fortress is down from an IPO high of $37 to $17 and change. The $16 million Edwards reportedly had invested in Fortress should have melted down to a far handier sum. Should he ever be elected president, he'd have a tax loss of $8.54 million to amortize over the next 2 terms and beyond. If there's divine justice, our stylishly primed and blow-dried champion of the downtrodden may yet see all those nasty tax loopholes for the rich be phased out under our linguistic chameleon, Queen Hillary. For TFN FinancialNews.com, I'm J. Christoph Amberger.